Welcome, everyone, to the Spend Life Well show, where we apply biblical wisdom to your financial journey. I'm certified Kingdom Advisor Mark Trice. In the podcast studio today with me is Jesse Hamilton.
Hey, everybody. Welcome.
Jesse is going to do a little bit different format today
Yeah.
with us, talking about what it means to start a business or run a business as a good steward of Christ.
Yeah. So I know, Mark, you've started a couple of businesses in your life, and you have pivoted a couple times and gone for a different career and then come back to the small business world. And then that's eventually how this whole thing started about 15 years ago, right?
Yeah, 15 or
And,
16 years ago,
so
but
we'll-
it started a long time ago. I mean, the idea started a long time ago.
Yeah. So we just want to get into what does faithful entrepreneurship mean, and how much you know when God might be leading you to start a small business or maybe do some good in the world by starting a business, whether it's for profit or not for profit. And I know, Mark, several times with the clients, we're helping them out. We're genuinely trying to help them steward their finances, and then you'll also say, but I am also in the for-profit making business, so
Right.
there's a business side of this
But
as
just
well.
because something is a nonprofit doesn't mean you don't make a profit. I think a lot of nonprofits make that mistake. You still
Yes.
have to run a viable organization
Yeah.
in order to stay around. So nonprofit doesn't just means it's a tax designation,
Yeah.
which we are. ClearVista Financial is not a nonprofit, but
Yeah. So a lot of people can say that their work can be an act of worship, whether you own a business or work for a company. What about when you launch a business? Can that be honoring to God and worshipful?
absolutely, if you commit your business to serving the Lord and serving others, of course it can be.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of how this business got started a little bit. I don't know if you want me to share a
Sure,
little
that'd
bit,
be great.
but I had felt that the Lord was tugging on my heart to really help people with their personal finance from a biblical worldview for some time. And it started way back to when I was just finishing up college.
Okay.
I had an opportunity to go into a financial services firm, but I didn't really care for the salesy aspect of it because it wasn't to me. Educating people was not about selling them a product. It was about telling them about their different options and helping them make informed decisions.
Mm-hmm. More advocacy than
Anything else. And so I said, you know what, this is not for me. I had a different business that I was running at the time. So I resisted God's pull to start and go into the financial services world. But
usually not a good choice.
not a good choice because eventually he's going to get his way.
Yeah.
But I fought that for a long time because it's like, oh man, it's really hard to do.
Yeah. And I've spoken with several entrepreneurs and other people who say, I've even not made the choice that God made clear, and he still took that mess and turned it into something good.
That's right. Because a lot of times, we put, if we have false idols
Mm-hmm.
to what's important to us. And for me, when I was in my 20-something, it was having a big paycheck or a steady paycheck.
Yeah.
I had made some mistakes where I had a lot of student loan debt and things, so that was weighing everything down. And I thought it was more important to provide for my wife and my family and pay off those bills. But that was not ultimately the path that God would have me take in life.
Let's talk about actually starting the business.
Yeah.
So did you take a specific passion or skill and turn that into profits, or did you learn that as it happened?
No, I think, even early on when in my early 20s, I was studying things like Ron Blue and Larry Burkett
Yeah.
and some of those godly, wise folks about how to manage finances, and just developed kind of a passion around that.
They were really the first ones to publicize the idea that the Bible was full of financial wisdom.
Yes, absolutely it is. And that really began my journey of discovering all the different things that what Scripture says and guidance that Scripture gives on wealth and possessions.
Mm-hmm. So sometimes when you start a business, you have to take out loans or have savings to fund the beginning of that Is that a good choice or a bad choice?
Well, it depends on what the debt's going to be used for. Remember, in Proverbs, uh, the Proverbs advise us to be wary of debt.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't say you shouldn't use debt
Yeah.
at all, but just be careful with that. I made the mistake of not being careful with that, and that stunted future growth for a while until I got that under control.
Yeah.
So it's very important. Most businesses you can start with very little money, unless you're starting a big manufacturing type thing. A lot of people think
Sure.
they've got to
Sure.
have everything perfect. I made the same mistake. I got to have the perfect website. I've got to have all this collateral material. I got to have brochures.
Yeah.
And I spent thousands of dollars in the wrong way, trying, as a friend of mine says, fixing to get ready. Right? You're fixing to be a financial advisor, so you've got to get ready for that, and that's not the case. People just want help
Yeah.
with their personal finance, and they want it from someone that they can trust.
So starting small feels really risky. Uh, I know that your situation is a little bit different, but maybe somebody is sitting in a steady job and they have an idea and they want to take that leap of faith and kind of let go of the safe side and start something small and more risky. How has that been a part of your story?
Well, it's my story is a little bit different than someone that's making a mid-career transition,
Mm-hmm.
but you can get into financial advising and things on a part-time basis so that you learn about it as you go along. And usually, my rule of thumb, and for any business, if it's a side hustle or a side gig that you're trying, that you're passionate about,
Mm-hmm.
once you've been able to replace about 50% of your income needs, that's when you can launch into it full time.
Okay.
I did it the other way. I just went
Full bootstrap.
full bootstrap, go for broke. And my situation's a little bit different because I knew I was struggling with God about what I was supposed to be doing. I was a chief marketing officer at different various firms and things, but it wasn't finding fulfillment in that. And then one day I was at my desk before the office opened and working for another entrepreneur, studying the Bible and doing a quiet time, and I was reading Colossians, and it was really talking about the verse. And forgive me for not knowing the exact verse. I should have that marked in my Bible, but if when you're doing work and do everything as if you're doing it for the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have the right attitude about what I was doing there at that job, and it showed. And later that afternoon, I had prayed. My prayer during that quiet time was to say, Lord, don't let me be complacent somewhere just because of a paycheck.
Yeah.
And that
That's
afternoon,
bold.
yeah, and that afternoon he answered the question, and I got fired,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
deservedly so, because it just wasn't a good fit. And I
Okay.
have the highest respect for that particular entrepreneur and her running of a business, a very successful business, and we just weren't meshing right to
Okay.
work together. But that's what he answered, and that's okay, God. That's not what I really was meaning by
Yeah.
that, but he's having a good laugh, right?
Let's shift gears for a second and talk about profits and charging a fair price for your service or your
Sure.
product. I know that you and I talk about this almost every day. How do we serve everybody who comes in our door, but also maintain a business, make a profit, pay for keep the lights on, pay the employees, keep a business running? You can't just do this for free.
Right.
So I know that we, without giving away too much detail, sometimes do tailor the price of our services to the situation and the amount of work that it's going to take to complete that job. But tell me your thoughts on charging fair prices.
Well, first of all, we've always said in this business with ClearVista Financial that everyone deserves access to quality, wise information
Right.
to help them along the way, whether they're just heavily in debt or if they're, a multimillionaire many times over. Everyone deserves access to that, and we shouldn't make it about a product, which from the very beginning, we have been anti-product. Doesn't mean that we don't use financial products to help our clients with certain things, but
Maybe
they're a
just not the
very,
first choice.
it's not the first, was not necessarily the first choice. It's just that we want to make sure that we are doing what's in the best interest, acting as a
A
fiduciary,
true
the
fiduciary.
true fiduciary
Yeah.
to our clients and doing what they're needing. But setting a fair price you have to examine a couple of different things. Number one, what is the immediate demand?
Mm-hmm.
What are your competitors
So
charging?
the true economics of it.
But the most important thing is, what value am I providing that is of meaning to that customer?
Okay.
And it has to be able to carefully articulate it and conveyed to that customer, because they're not going to pay for something they don't see value in.
Right.
So that's the first focus. If you're starting a business, make sure you're providing some value and that you can easily articulate that.
So you'd say the best way to determine your pricing is to look at how much value you're creating.
How much value you're creating, what's the competition look like, and what's kind of the industry norms for that.
Mm-hmm.
We knew a number of financial advisors that charge a really much higher fees than we charge, but they're doing different things. And so we've chosen to set our fees around a certain rate. They're a little bit higher than the typical stuff, but we're providing a lot more value to our customers.
Okay. So shifting gears again into the idea of your work being ministry and kind of serving the Lord through your work. So let's talk about, are there any surprises in doing this business where you unexpectedly were able to do ministry through your work?
Oh yeah, all the
serving
time,
people?
every day, and it really hit home for me. I won't share the story of when I first realized this, but it was involving a former employee who's since retired, Brenda. I'll say Brenda's name because everybody loves Brenda. If you remember Brenda, but really I didn't realize how much of a blessing I would get from being able to minister to others.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about the money. Okay. God has provided for my family always. Even when I've made dumb mistakes, God's always provided and allowed me an opportunity to earn money to support my family as well. But the blessings that I received just from being able to pray with a family, help counsel them in a situation where they're not sure what to do about a child who's, an adult child that's misbehaving,
Sure.
or just simply it's just the loss of a husband or a wife.
Much more than the dollars and cents.
Yeah, then that has nothing to do with financial planning. It's all about investing and providing and pouring value into that person's life that you're across from the table to. That's the blessing I didn't expect.
Yeah.
And that's what gets me up every day, is the opportunity to be able to serve someone else.
Yeah. And I think you can tell by the way that Mark's talking, we're passionate about helping people this way. And we truly believe that there's this book full of wisdom that we get to study and teach people about every day. So if, I'm maybe speaking for Mark here, but if this is something that interests you, let us know. We'd love to talk about it. We would love for this to continue to grow as a part of the industry, that Christian, truly biblical financial advice would continue to expand. And if you're thinking about taking a leap of faith in entrepreneurship, I hope that you've been able to learn something today from what we've done here and what Mark has done about 15 years ago, starting this business. So
Yeah.
any closing thoughts on somebody who's going to take that journey soon, that leap soon?
I always tell people, if you're putting together like a pro forma to try to figure out, what the income and expenses might be, my advice is double the expenses and cut the revenue in half.
Okay.
Because that's more realistic. Because you're going to start slower than you thought. And do I have the runway to make it through this period of time? And if the answer is no, then maybe you want to start something part-time on the side versus jumping into it full head first into the situation. But I would, more importantly, pray about the guidance that you believe the Lord is sharing with you about how you can make this business honoring to God and serving others in whatever that capacity is, whatever it is that you feel passionate about. But more importantly, always, first and foremost, make sure the Lord is your business partner.
Yeah.
and guiding you in those steps.
Yeah. So if you know anybody who's maybe thinking about taking a journey in entrepreneurship and wants to be a faithful steward, please share this podcast with them. We'd love to spread the word. If you want to reach us, you can do that via text at 254-282-0495, or you could email us at info@clearvistafinancial.com.
So I think, even if you got an idea,
Yeah.
you want to share an idea with us. I've had the opportunity to counsel hundreds, and I literally mean hundreds of startups
Yeah.
over the years in my previous career and things, and trying to guide them. We can kind of help you navigate some of those pitfalls.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a high-tech startup or if it's a restaurant business, the answer is no, don't do that. Restaurants are hard businesses to be in.
Mm-hmm.
But, some people are very successful with it, and we can introduce you to some of those people.
That's very true. Well, thanks everybody for listening to the Spend Life Well Show. Thanks for sharing a little bit about your story, Mark, and we'll catch you next time on the Spend Life Well Show.
All right.
Securities offered through Cambridge Investment Research Incorporated, a broker-dealer, member FINRA, SIPC. Advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors Incorporated, a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and ClearVista Financial are not affiliated. Discussions in the show should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions.